Circumstances don't matter. This is a very popular phrase in Law of Assumption, and Neville has even used this phrase. But I have found that this phrase can be unhelpful at times, because when somebody is experiencing a circumstance that is painful, or it hurts, or it's upsetting in some way, then that phrase is not helpful. So I just wanted to pull back a bit and explain the truth of the principle to make it easier when you are experiencing circumstances that matter very much to you in that moment. So that's what we're doing today. This is going to make things easier. My name is Hedley. If you would like to know more about me or my offerings, including Law of Assumption coaching, my I Am the One self-concept course, and my book, I Am Money, which will help you rewrite your money story and experience a new reality with money. You'll find all of those details in the box below this video. But if I could ask you to do just one very simple thing, and that is to press the subscribe button on your screen now. Thank you so much. Circumstances don't matter. This phrase has bothered me, and that is why I am very excited to make this video, because the phrase circumstances don't matter, I feel, can be hurtful and harmful to people who are experiencing circumstances that in that moment are mattering a lot. Such as, if you're working with a specific person reflection, and that specific person reflection goes and hooks up with somebody else, or moves in with somebody else, or gets married to somebody else, that's a circumstance that in that moment matters. And it probably matters a lot. And having somebody come up and say, well, circumstances don't matter, is not helpful. And I'm not making fun of anyone who does say that. That's just a voice that I like to do. Circumstances don't matter. I wanted to just break this down a little bit so that when you are experiencing circumstances that are mattering, you don't have to feel bad about yourself for caring about the circumstances, because there are going to be times where circumstances do feel like they matter. Such as recently, I bumped my head on the bathroom cabinet. Very hard. It hurt a lot. That is a circumstance that in that moment mattered, because I felt it, it hurt. And if somebody had come up to me and gone, you know what, Hedley, circumstances don't matter, I definitely would have had very unloving thoughts towards them. So sometimes circumstances do matter. They matter a lot. They can be painful. However, there is always an opportunity in that moment to remember the truth. Now, thankfully, having done this work, I know who I am. I remembered very quickly, even amongst the pain of having hit my head, I remembered that I had a choice, that I could revise that moment. So as I'm holding my head and grimacing and going, oh my God, this hurts so much, I closed my eyes and I went back into that moment and I reminded myself of closing the cabinet door. So I remembered closing the cabinet door. I bent down, I stood back up, all was well. Now, as I did that, the throbbing in my head ceased. It stopped. It dissolved. And I forgot about it, went back on with my day. And about 5 minutes later, I was like, oh, I just hit my head. Is my head still sore? Soon as I had that thought, the throbbing recommenced. My head started throbbing again. I was like, oh my God, it's really sore. So I remembered who I am, and I remembered going into my imagination. I closed the door, I bent down, I stood back up, I went on my way, all was well. And as I did that, the throbbing ceased. It stopped again. It dissolved. And I was like, wow, that was fast. And so I did it again. If my head sore, sure enough, as soon as I directed my awareness to the memory of hitting my head, the throbbing kicked in again. Soon as I remembered the revised memory of closing the bathroom door and bending down and standing up again, the throbbing dissolved. Now, that proves that while circumstances can matter, there is always another option. And in order to activate that potential option, you must go into your imagination. So I wanted to rephrase this so that it honors the experience that you're having, it honors the circumstance that you might be experiencing, and it honors the experience that you might be having as a result of that experience, such as bumping your head on the cabinet mirror. It hurt. It felt very real. It was painful. That was a circumstance that mattered in that moment. However, while circumstances can matter, they are also unfixed. Circumstances matter to the degree that they matter to you. So if a circumstance matters to you, then it matters. And circumstance is matter. Circumstances, situations, things we experience in reality are the manifestation of imagination into physical form, which is matter. Now, the word matter originates from mater, meaning mother. So matter is the manifestation, which is the mother, which is the feminine. That's another reason why I don't love this phrase, because it just feels a little bit like it's devaluing the feminine. It devalues the mother, and that's just a little bit too prevalent in our society, in our culture. So we have to be valuing matter to the degree that matter is a manifestation of consciousness into physical form. If something is in physical form, it has validity. It originated from consciousness. Now, it might not be exactly what we wanted to experience. It still matters, because also reality is our feedback system. We learn where we are in our manifestations based on the feedback from reality. If you're manifesting something and your manifestation is a little bit off, meaning it's not quite what you wanted, that's great feedback. Now you go back to work and you reorient yourself to what it is that you are wanting to manifest. Perhaps there's an assumption there or a belief that you didn't know you had that set off this experience in reality that you didn't quite mean to create. That's great feedback. You've got something to work with. So circumstances matter because circumstances are matter, and they matter to the degree that they matter to you. However, matter originating from consciousness, which is proven by science, is unfixed. It's unsolid at its core nature. The molecules come in and out of existence. It's not fixed. So even though matter feels very real and we experience it as very real, it is unfixed. And because it is unfixed, we can immediately choose another potential and have that potential reorganize itself in reality and reflected back, such as when I hit my head. I was able to very quickly reorganize my experience of that so that I no longer felt the throbbing of having hit my head. And of course, every time I directed my awareness back to the memory of hitting my head, the throbbing started again. But every time I remembered closing the door properly before bending down and standing up again, then the throbbing dissolved because I never hit my head. So those are both true. I'm not in denial of having hit my head, but I'm choosing another potential by directing my awareness to it and playing it out as if I was remembering it as a memory. And of course, the brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imagination. It will just act on the information given to it. So if I'm remembering the hitting of my head, I'm going to get that experience in reality. However, if I quickly remember having closed the bathroom door before bending over, then that's the experience I'm going to have in reality. And that's absolutely my experience. Like, I did it a few times. I was amazed by the instantaneous reflection of those choices. So circumstances do matter, they are matter, but they are not fixed. And as soon as you experience a circumstance in form, matter, if it's not favorable, if it's not one that is your desired result, then hey, guess where you have to go in order to revise it or reimagine it? That's right, you got it, you've been here long enough. Your imagination. And it can be that quick. You do not have to make a song and dance and sit down and put your blindfolds on and get the music going and calm yourself into a relaxed state. I was in intense pain when I closed my eyes. I mean, I really was. I was making noises. And in that pain, I went into my imagination and I reimagined it. And within seconds, the throbbing dissolved to the point where I forgot about it. And then a few minutes later was like, oh, hey, I hit my head. And then, of course, set off again. So I did not get myself into any relaxed state to do this. You just simply have to direct your awareness to the truth that is available to you, the opposing truth to the one you're experiencing in reality, and remember it as if you were remembering something that did happen in reality. This does not have to be more complicated than it is. It's so simple. Keep it simple. And the more I do this, the simpler it gets. We really have complicated things, and we put all sorts of stories on top of it, which is that you have to, really get yourself into this super relaxed state. Nothing wrong with getting into a sleepy state. But I was in a lot of pain when I reimagined that. So keep in mind, if you are experiencing a circumstance in third dimensional form that is unfavorable, that feels painful or upsetting, it matters. Because it matters to you, therefore it's valid. But keep in mind that circumstance is not fixed. Matter is not fixed. It comes in and out of existence. Therefore, it is up for change, and that change is made in consciousness. It is made in your imagination. So I think part of my role here and what I'm doing with these videos is simply reminding you that what is in reality isn't the whole story. What you're experiencing isn't the whole story. I think Valerie, hi Valerie, you said it in the last video, Two Truths, one of the last videos I did. You actually said, oh, this is actually a reminder that imagination is true. My imagination is true. Yes. And of course, that's why I make these videos, to remind myself, because I'm just as identified as reality as everybody else is. I'm just as much triggered by it, not as much now because I have done so much of this work to the point where I can hit my head and be in intense pain and remember who I am. And that is the point of the game, is to experience the circumstance. And in that circumstance, if it's not favorable and it's not to your liking, to remember who you are as quickly as possible. I am the infinite I am, and I have full command over the experience I'm having. So which one am I choosing to direct my awareness to? If you need to revise something, you go into your imagination and imagine that circumstance happening differently. Now you're going to get a different result in reality, and it can happen very quickly. As long as you keep remembering the circumstance, the matter that you have experienced, then yes, of course, you will get more of it, and that circumstance will continue to matter. Things don't get better by continuing to focus on them. So if things aren't the way you want them, you have to go somewhere else to reimagine them. You can't go to reality because it's not what you want. You've got to go to imagination. So spend more time in your imagination, revise the circumstances that are mattering, that are unfavorable. And remember, if something does hurt and upset you, that's okay. It matters because it matters to you. We don't want to devalue our creations. We manifested them. Yeah, it wasn't quite what we wanted. It was a little bit off base, but hey, that's where you get to go into your imagination and have another go, and you can have as many goes as you like. There is no limits to this. Circumstances matter because they are matter, but they are not fixed. Matter isn't fixed. Remember that with any circumstance you are faced with. And please do not tell anyone that circumstances don't matter when clearly that circumstance matters very much to them. If you want to do anything to help them, you can go into your imagination and reimagine it for them, because of course they are you pushed out, reflecting you back as well. Okay, more on that another time. I'm going to post a video here. Please do check that out. And if you'd like to leave a comment, please do so wisely. Use your words wisely. No writing of the old story or any story that you don't want to experience more of, because that's what happens. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.